And I'm Diane Held. I'm with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Erie County, and happy that everybody could be here today on Earth Day. I think it's the 51st. Is that right? Do I have that right? Okay. And this is part of the Western New York Virtual Energy Tour that's being put on by PUSH and Cornell Cooperative Extension. We are live and recording, so if anybody wants to change their name, you might want to do that now. And we just ask that everybody keep themselves muted for the most part, just because it helps with background noise and makes the speakers sound much better that way. And then if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat and I'll keep track of those, but we'll also open it up after we have our presenters. We'll open it up to verbal questions as well as chat questions. So I'm going to turn it over at this point to the PUSH staff, I think to Lou. I think that's who I'm turning it over to, and she'll do some more introductions.
Hi, I'm Lou DeJesus, a community energy advisor with PUSH Green, trying to fill the very big shoes of our program manager, Natalie, who's not with us this evening. So I can introduce Clark Gawker. I could pass to you.
Hey, thanks, Lou. So good evening, everyone. I'm Clark Gawker. I'm the Director of Policy and Strategy at PUSH Buffalo, and I'll pass it over to my colleague, Jason Posner.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jason Posner. Welcome back. I'm the Community Energy Advisor as well with my colleague, Lou DeJesus, and thanks again for having me back. I will turn it over to, I'm going to pick Valerie.
Hello, my name is Valerie Zhuang. I'm 18, she/her, and I'm with the Western New York Youth Climate Council. I will pass it to Lisa. You're muted.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lisa Kempesty with Cornell Cooperative Extension in Chautauqua County, and I apologize, I had to have my camera off. I had a phone call come in, so I was taking care of that, but nice to see everyone, and I look forward to this evening's discussion. Oh, I'm sorry. And then I don't know everyone that has gone. So whoever would like to go next, how's that?
Good evening. I'm Dick Rivers from the Cattaraugus Cornell Cooperative Extension. Welcome everyone here this evening. And I'm going to pass it over to Justin.
Thanks, Dick. Good evening, everybody. I'm Justin Rogers. I'm the Executive Director of Cornell Cooperative Extension, Niagara County. Happy to be here and welcome everyone this evening. And I'll pass it over to Laura.
Awesome. I'm Laura Hunsberger. I'm the Executive Director with CCE in Allegheny County. And today's topic is especially interesting to me because I actually wrote a chapter in my senior thesis on Earth Day. So I should probably read it again. It's been a couple of years, but I'm really interested to hear what you guys are going to be presenting. And so I'm going to give it down to Ron or Michaela, whomever wants to unmute quickly. Fastest.
Hi, Ron Olmeter. I'm on the Chautauqua County Cooperative Extension Board and the Agricultural Advisory Board. I own and operate a bed and breakfast in Westfield, New York, and a small grain farm. I'm also the manager of the Chautauqua County airports at Jamestown and Dunkirk. And let's see, Michaela is, I'll turn it over to Michaela. I think she hasn't introduced herself.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Michaela with PUSH.
Well, good to see everybody. Michaela with PUSH. She's our new Director of Organizing, okay? Oh, Michaela, I'm so glad you're here. So I wanted to give a little context about the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. So for those that don't know, it is a historic climate law that puts us on a path to reaching net zero greenhouse gas emissions. It's the work of nearly 4 years of organizing, and establishes economy-wide and electric solar targets and a plan for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, scaling up clean energy that will transform and strengthen New York's economy. The act includes several environmental justice components, including a requirement to direct at least 35 to 40% of the program's benefit to historically disadvantaged communities. The act will extend and enhance a number of New York's successful clean energy initiatives. It codifies into law Governor Cuomo's ambitious goals to accelerate the development of wind and solar power, increase energy efficiency, and facilitate the growth of energy storage technology, among many other things. So for Earth Day, we have a very special guest. Everyone here is special, but Valerie's super special. She is representing the Western New York Youth Climate Council. So Valerie Juang is an 18-year-old she/her co-organizer with the Western New York Youth Climate Council. She is currently studying industrial engineering at the University of Buffalo. She believes in combining top-to-bottom resources with bottom-to-top effectiveness and aspires to build person-first, environment-first systems in legislation, social programs, and industrial processes. So we're going to have a great presentation from Valerie. So I'll mute.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I will be sharing my screen, although I do want to make one correction. I have changed my major. I'm not particularly passionate about industrial engineering, and I am leaving that open as a potential master's. But currently I am a psychology major, as I find that when you're organizing at the individual level, at the grassroots level, you really have to make sure that you take care of yourself and your co-organizers. And that is currently my priority in terms of supporting other youth and other organizations such as PUSH and the Cornell Co-op, of course. Thank you so much for having me today. So yes, I'm Valerie, she/her, 18 years old, UB freshman, and I am with the Western New York Youth Climate Council. So what is the Western New York Youth Climate Council? It is a youth-led organization for climate issues in Western New York that seeks to support youth involvement and intergenerationalism through partnerships and results-based campaigns. So just a quick rundown of the YCC. In 2019 of March, we held the first ever Buffalo climate strike in Niagara. But this was kind of before the YCC was established. That was kind of like the founding event. And in June of 2019, the YCC was founded at the Western New York Youth Climate Action Summit. In September 20th of 2019, we held a strike in Niagara Square with over 1,300 strikers, which was great. And in March of 2020, the COVID pandemic, forced the Declare Climate Emergency campaign online. And finally, this past October, we passed the Declare Climate Emergency within Buffalo. So in terms of our involvement with the CLCPA and the CCLA, we are a member organization of Partnership for the Public Good, which is an organization with 300, 400 plus socially minded organizations within Western New York, specifically Buffalo area. And we are also a member of New York Renews, which Push Buffalo is also a member of. It is a coalition of 200 plus climate-related organizations across the state. And they were really the ones who were pushing for the CLCPA, and we were a part of that, as you can see in this picture. The boy with the red backpack is my co-organizer, Ilias. He's kind of like the main founder, although I was there as one of the founding members for the YCC. And he's there on an Albany trip to rally for the CLCPA in January of 2020. So we are really trying to get involved with the enforcement of the CLCPA on multiple levels within the city as well as the county. We are definitely in contact with the organizing groups who are organizing the carryout of the CLCPA. We are also definitely involved with the CCIA advocacy in terms of trying to get those $15 billion annually into our communities to help fund the enactment of the CLCPA. And another thing we're very proud of are our youth representatives on the Buffalo City and Erie County Climate Task Forces, Nadia El Halawani and Anya Nyak. great organizers. In fact, you'll just hear a little bit more about their work. So on the Erie County Climate Smart Communities Task Force is Nadia. It was established by County Executive Polenkars as a part of his county climate agenda. And actually, he came out to a few of our strikes to express his support for us. And that was really big, as we were a really young organization, barely a year old at the time. And we will definitely be following up with all of his support. So it's a part of a Climate Smart Communities program run by the state, and it currently has a bronze level certification, but they are moving up to silver, which is sort of their assessment of how the state of the climate is within the county. So really excited for that, and really proud of my friend and co-organizer. My other co-organizer would be Anyang Yak, and she's part of the Buffalo Climate Smart Communities Task Force. It was established by Mayor Brian Brown to recommend a climate action plan and secure grant funding for the city. And it is also part of the Climate Smart Communities program run by the state, and it also has a bronze level certification. So we do have an upcoming workshop with our two young reps, and they will be joining with different speakers such as Kelly from the Climate Smart Communities coordinator position and Tracy Skalski, who is on the Department of Environment and Planning at the Erie County level. I will drop that link into the chat. You will also see it later in this presentation, no worries. So our current campaign that we are trying to push through long-term is the Office of Sustainability. I know this looks like a lot of text, don't worry about it. The entire point of the Office of Sustainability is to help bridge the gap between different government groups as well as different community groups to accomplish climate initiatives at a larger scale and more efficiently. Something we found after talking and communicating with our community is that lots of different groups are trying to accomplish the same exact thing. We actually found around 10 groups that were trying to start a retree program in Buffalo. And, you know, it just seemed kind of silly that everyone had to learn separately and enact it separately when they could all enact it together and make a much larger impact for the exact same cause that they want to work in. And we found that there is this kind of similar, you know, desire for the same impacts, and we can definitely get that done more effectively if we have increased coordination. So our ask for the Office of Sustainability is to have fully staffed, fully paid workers who focus on climate justice so that all parts of climate justice can be adequately addressed. Not just the ecological side, but the social justice side, including racial justice, economic justice, and all kinds of equity that usually get brushed aside when discussing ecological issues, because ecological issues as a whole are also not entirely well addressed. Excuse me if I'm talking too fast. And our more contemporary work is our mayoral scorecard. So we're actually meeting with India Walton, mayoral candidate, tomorrow night to discuss her climate action plan. She has already agreed to put the Office of Sustainability into her climate action plan. So it's very promising. We will be releasing the mayoral scorecards after we conclude our meetings with our mayoral candidates. Essentially, these scorecards will put pressure on mayoral candidates to make sure they're doing what's best for the environment and people. And we will basically be ranking them based off of their platforms and how dedicated they have shown themselves to be for climate justice. And we really hope that we can elect a mayor who will really push to make Buffalo a truly green, just city. So if you want to connect with us, you can find us on Instagram, and this is our link tree. Our link tree is basically where we have all of our links just set up in terms of our mailing list registration, registering for our community meetings, which we host monthly, both for community partners and for youth who want to get involved with us. So that's kind of like our central database right now. Just type that into your URL search bar. It should work. Thank you guys so much for having us.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, that's you're really doing a lot. That's incredible. So I had some questions Jay and I thought of for you. How did you get involved in organizing, and in particular organizing for the climate?
That is a really great question. It's kind of a long road. I guess my passion for linguistics brought me to this organization called Literacy New York. And what they do is they provide one-on-one adult literacy tutoring to adults throughout the region. And that was kind of my first volunteering gig. I ended up getting a job at Planned Parenthood that I still have as a peer educator. It's much less awkward to discuss sexuality with someone your age than a random adult that you don't know. And the fact is that abstinence-only education does not work, because that just means once they come into a sexually charged situation, they have no idea what to do. They just have no idea at all. And that doesn't increase the likelihood that they make good decisions. So that was another leadway into social justice. And eventually I met this plucky sophomore from my school, City Honors, and he was running this climate strike. And I was like, okay. I mean, he was a few years younger than me. I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. And his name was Ilyas Khan, and I ended up supporting some of his actions. And one day in June, we met at his house, and he was like, all right, we're making this organization. It's the YZC. I was like, okay. And I kind of just rolled in from there. The thing is, for me, for social justice and volunteering, is you kind of just get into it. You like the people, you go into it, you kind of roll into whatever's next. And it's really a lot of fun, and it's definitely great to know that you're making an impact.
Thank you. Were there any questions from our guests? Because Jay and I have like a whole string of questions. All right, good.
I have a quick question.
You have one?
I have a quick question, yeah. So Valerie, since it's a youth climate council, is there any age? I mean, I had started talking to you about this before, because those of us on the screen from Cooperative Extension have the 4-H program. So I was just wondering if there was a way to connect. So I didn't know if you did anything regarding an age limit or anything to be involved.
Well, we're usually pretty loose on our youth requirements. We would say the absolute oldest would be like 25 years old, and the absolute youngest, as long as you can read, I think that's okay. We're definitely trying to be very patient with our members, and we're definitely thinking of the future and our younger activists as well, although we're all quite young. Yes. Why do you ask?
Yeah, so I was just thinking that, you know, there might be opportunities for 4-H members to be able to participate if they're interested. So are you the person that I should have them reach out to if they have interest?
Absolutely,
Okay.
but we do have an organization email, so I'm just gonna drop it in the chat right now.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'd be happy to field any other questions or any that Lou have.
I'll give someone else a turn. I think Clark had a question.
Yeah, Valerie, thank you so much. Really applaud the hard work y'all are doing in the community, and just curious, like, you know, what have been some of the challenges or even like the breakthrough moments that y'all have had in your organizing work?
That's a really great question. So thank you for bringing that up. We realized that the kind of throw in and roll around approach doesn't work for everyone. I mean, it worked with me okay, and it worked with my friend Ilyas all right, but that's not how it is for everyone. There have been a few surveys conducted, and for some people, public speaking is more scary to them than, I don't know, car crashes. And that's really interesting to me because I don't have that same fear. But at the same time, because we do want to support all youth involvement, we are trying to get more workshops set up so everyone can learn the skills they need to have in order to confidently advocate for whatever they feel like advocating for. And something we definitely thought about and have been thinking about is how we can help this organization inherit. I know, like, we're young, I can stay in this organization for a while, of course, but I really want to make sure that this organization continues to be in good hands. And for us, that breakthrough moment is understanding that we need to have formal organizational structure. We have to have formal organizational structure in terms of skills training. You know, that approach doesn't work for everyone. And I'm sure if I also had more workshops in terms of skills building as a supplement, that I would also be a much better activist than I am now. And I really want to be able to provide that for our younger activists. So thank you for asking. Oh, also, if you have any resources regarding skills training, please send it over. Definitely we are building our program, but also we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We know that you're doing good work and we would love to collaborate with you on it.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, we'll skip that one. So as far as the CLCPA, were you surprised at kind of how huge it ended up being?
I mean, yes. I remember being a part of organizing to advocate for it and getting people to be more aware of it. And once it passed, I was like, whoa, that's amazing. So props to all of you guys for your hard work on it. And it was crazy seeing like national newspapers say that it was the leading, bill. I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy cool. And I'm really excited to see how we move forward with it. And yeah, it was nuts.
Oh dear, time goes so quickly. So our last question is for you and Clark. What do you think will be different now that we have these kinds of laws? I know Cornell does energy efficiency and education around that, and Push, of course, does what it does. But what do you think is going to be different now? I guess first, Valerie.
Yeah, I'll go first. I feel like for a lot of people, when they get into advocacy, they're a little confused. It's overwhelming. They're not sure where to start. But I feel like with the CLCPA, that's kind of like a direction that we can help push. Push Buffalo, push. Maybe that's why that was on my mind. But I feel like that can really help give a lot of youth direction when they feel a little unstable and unsure of what they should be doing. Not that they don't have their personal direction, it just takes a little time to develop that. So I really thank you guys for building the framework for bringing in more youth activists.
Cool. I guess, yeah, I can jump in. Yeah, thanks for that question, Lou. I think the first thing for me that'll be different is that it's the law, right? So up until 2019, we had some climate goals in New York State, but they weren't set in law. And so there wasn't, the kind of standards and goals and things in place to, not only motivate, but to really compel legislators, state agencies, communities, local government officials to take aggressive climate action that would, it really surpass the goals that have been set internationally in the Paris Climate Accord. So, I think Valerie noting that, the climate law in New York has been heralded as the strongest in the country. That's true. That was kind of the headline in the New York Times the day after the bill was passed. And it was, for Push, it was a real labor of love. It, was a priority of ours as an organizing campaign, as a public education campaign for a number of years. And I think, as Lou mentioned at the outset, and Valerie as well, we're kind of now in the midst of implementing the law. And I think that, gets back directly to your question, Lou, of just, what will be different. I think just to give, folks who are tuning in some perspective, right now, the kind of the body that was convened to oversee the implementation of the CLCPA, the Climate Action Council, is meeting. They've been meeting for about a year. And one of their first jobs was to convene a series of advisory panels. And these are, experts, both from the grassroots, from colleges and universities, from the private sector, coming together to hash out recommendations that the state could adopt to then meet the climate goals. So I've had the privilege of participating in one of those advisory panels. Our executive director, Rawa, is participating in the Climate Justice Working Group. It's kind of advising the state on what the definition of disadvantaged communities is, and then how investments and resources should be targeted to those communities in an equitable way. But yeah, the recommendations, about half of them have already been released to the Climate Action Council. The second half are being released on May 10th. The Climate Action Council meets on a monthly basis. If you want to, all of their meetings are open to the public. I encourage folks to check it out. I can drop a link in the chat. It's climate.ny.gov. And yeah, once those draft recommendations are submitted, then the clock's ticking. The Climate Action Council has until the end of this year to make to develop a draft scoping plan that then in 2022 would come before New Yorkers through a public engagement process for New Yorkers to scrutinize, to evaluate, to push back on, to cheerlead around if there's good recommendations. And so I think that's something we all have, we can all look forward to as in our communities as New Yorkers, is stepping up and taking an active role in shaping what the state will count on to meet those goals. So to me, that's kind of where Push Green comes in. Where Jay and Lou, they do such vital work. They're already proving, and have been since 2012, what energy efficiency programs that are led by frontline community-based organizations, how those programs can actually make a difference in people's lives and connect people to weatherization, healthy homes, improvements, and other benefits. And so it's kind of an early example of what's possible. And that's been some of my, advocacy in one of the advisory panels I was participating in, of saying, hey, look at this program, Push Green. It's worthy of additional investment, and we need to scale it up across the state and continue supporting it and making sure that that work continues, most importantly, in disadvantaged communities that have lacked access to those programs in the past. So sorry, Lou, that was a pretty long-winded response to your question, but just, I wanted to get that in. But yeah, thanks again.
No, that's really perfect. Because it can be hard. I think people would see the headline, right? The CLCPA is passed. What now? What does that even mean? And what you're saying, people have an opportunity to help decide what that means, which is amazing. So you mean like literal December 2021? There has to be, wow.
Yeah, so a draft scoping plan by the end of this year, and then they'll take another full calendar year to come up with the final scoping plan. But yeah, you can think of the scoping plan as kind of an a la carte menu for climate. Hopefully, it's when it comes together, it all tastes good in the mouth. But it's that idea. It's kind of a menu or a laundry list of interventions the state can make, whether it's improvements to public transportation systems to make those less fossil fuel dependent, or if it's investments in public housing to make sure people aren't living in decaying infrastructure that's making them sick, or if it's improvements to the power generation sector to make sure that some of those renewable energy benefits that we here in Western New York maybe take for granted with Niagara Falls. We get a lot of our power from renewable energy, and we have for years. That's not the case for communities across the state that are dependent on large, dirty fossil fuel power plants to get their energy. And oftentimes those power plants are sited in Black and brown, poor and working class communities, and create some really heinous local pollution impacts. So, those are all the things that are on the table, is how we can kind of, wean ourselves off of the dirty and the dangerous and shift to the things that, bring joy to our lives, keep us healthy, keep our communities intact, and help us to kind of keep putting food on the table and caring for our loved ones. So that's what I'm excited about.
Oh, it is exciting. Did anyone else have a question? I'm not sure what's in the chat.
Any questions in the chat? I've been keeping track.
No questions.
Actually, I have a question for you, Lou, and for you, Jay. Gonna turn the tables here. So, I think this partnership we have with Cornell Cooperative Extension, with the offices across Western New York is great. We hope it kind of continues into the future. For Push Green to be successful, for the CLCPA to be successful, like we have to rely on partnerships. Valerie, we're going to take you up on your offer to work more closely with the Youth Council. But yeah, Lou and Jay, maybe you could kind of clue some folks on the call here in on we just announced a partnership today, and maybe kind of dish on that a little bit. That was pretty exciting earlier today.
Well, I believe Jay was going to mention that to close out, but it's fine. Just panel, take control, just chaos here. So today was the launching of a campaign called Let's Take It Home, or Take It Back Home.
No,
let's bring it home.
Let's bring it
Bring
home.
it home. Sorry, it was 10 hours ago that press conference was. And so Push and Push Green will be partnering with Senator Tim Kennedy to do a combination of just like massive outreach of the energy efficiency work that Push Green's done, the weatherization that Push Green's done, and healthy homes, but also involving our, among our newest colleagues, the sustainability team at Push Buffalo, and they do clean heating and cooling and educate and help folks get air source heat pumps, primarily air source heat pumps in their homes. So that started today. I don't know if it's like officially launched, but it's it, right? So
it's official, yeah. And if you're a Buffalo News reader or subscriber, we also, our executive director had another voice column published today that kind of helped to build some momentum for that. So
yeah, so that was today. Sorry,
That's great.
Jay.
I'm gonna go look for that article afterwards.
Thank you, Lou. You stole my thunder, but it's okay. We still have a close.
Well,
I'm sorry, that was Clark's fault.
I'm sorry. I do have a question for Clark. How did you get into the work that you do today?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I didn't grow up like as an environmentalist. I grew up in a family that valued social justice and racial justice, and I think a lot of that led me into kind of a career path that I thought I would still be on, but I'm not. But and that was I moved to Buffalo about 15 years ago to pursue a PhD in sociology, thinking I'd become a college professor someday. And just took a keen interest in kind of the life of cities, how urban inequality manifests through poorly designed public policy, through kind of racist structures, white supremacy, just other kind of just other means. And so doing that, it kind of coincided with some other pursuits I had, which were had nothing to do with that, but just in the realm of residential construction. I spent time just working as a laborer, as a carpenter, doing construction in the Rochester area, and then in Buffalo. And my last job in Buffalo was working for just a small kind of owner-operated business in the city that was doing a lot of kind of historic restoration work in some of Buffalo's old housing. And so just developed a deep appreciation for just the challenges of old housing stock. Those two things kind of, I think, set me up to come into employment at Push. And my first position there was kind of managing a gut rehab project in a single family house on the west side of Buffalo that was also doubling as a job training site for kind of youth from our community. And and I was there to both manage construction and then to kind of be a mentor for the youth in learning some of the trades. And so I guess the rest is history. I don't know. I didn't, see myself on this path, but just, I think now I fully embrace the notion that like climate justice is the proper frame. And for me, that means is centering marginalized folks in the pursuit of a new economy, like one that gives everybody an opportunity to succeed, that redirects precious investments, away from the things that hurt communities, that hurt people, that make people sick, that kill people, and to redirect those resources towards more positive things that are going to improve people's quality of life, kind of reverse inequality in our neighborhoods, and again, keep people in place. I think we've seen with a lot of development in Buffalo in particular, and this happens in cities and other regions across the state and across the country, of a lot of displacement. When new investments come in, often it disrupts people's lives, and they get moved out of their neighborhoods really against their will. And so Push has been pretty adamant in its history that we're kind of fighting to keep our community affordable, to keep housing safe and affordable for people to live in. So yeah, I think that's very much, just aligns with my values now. But yeah, thank you, Valerie, for that question.
That was a great question. That was a really great question. So we have then Jason, let's see. Jason to do closing out. And then next, well, Jason knows.
Yeah, I'm just looking in the chat box as well. I don't see any more questions. Anyone on the panel have a question for Valerie, Clark, myself, anyone? Lou?
Yeah, could somebody explain a little bit more about the Let's Bring It Home campaign, like what the next steps are?
Clark, you probably may want to take that one.
Sure, but feel free to jump in, Lou or Jay.
Sure.
Yeah, the short of it is, today we announced this partnership with State Senator Tim Kennedy. Between now and the middle of June, we're going to be just kind of, getting word out across every channel, direct mailers, maybe some phone calls, social media, mostly to his constituents, although we're not going to, kind of shut people out by any means. And really just, try to connect those dots of, hey, like we showed up in 2019, we meaning, Push, Senator Kennedy, and so many others, to advance this legislation. Now that it's here, the mandate is here. Like, do we have solutions that we can kind of turn to, that anybody could, to be part of the transition towards that renewable energy economy? And we think we do. And, we need more, and we're advocating for that. But in the meantime, we have Push Green, we have Push for Clean Heat, programs that are trusted, that are led by frontline communities. And so, we're excited to connect those dots. So it's kind of part public education, part like, hey, take the first step, get a comprehensive home energy assessment at no cost. Talk to Jay, talk to Lou to make that happen. And then in mid-June, we're planning I think a COVID safe in-person event, as it stands. Hopefully that doesn't change, to celebrate, what a 2-month kind of concentrated effort, looks like. And that's going to be, we're still planning it out, but something, in the neighborhood in Senator Kennedy's district. And we'll be extending, invitations to anybody who did participate in that 2-month window, and anybody who wants to participate moving forward, because the work doesn't end after that. This is just meant to kind of light a spark, I think, in our communities.
So it's a big educational campaign then.
Educational, and then trying to also get people set up, with the services. So it's not just information, but it's like encouraging and motivating folks to take that step, right?
Okay. Great. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I could just say, if folks have heard about Solarize campaigns. Yikes. Well, it's something that Clark and Jay, know that Push Green's done in the past, like to just really zero in, again, not excluding. It's not like for 2 months we won't talk to people outside of the district, but just really zero in on one area. It's just kind of an effective way to, what would the word be, Clark? Almost like to try to saturate that area and then use that as a springboard for, because then at that point you can do things like say, this district got this many homes audited. How many can your district get audited? Or, this zip code has this many homes that got retrofits on it. How many can your zip code accomplish? So it's a fun way to get the word out.
Great, thank you. That's cool.
Yeah, and I think that the "let's bring it home" kind of tagline, it's just meant to convey, sometimes we win a big policy victory and we think the work is done and that's the victory, when in fact that enables so many smaller victories. And so by bringing it home, like literally, let's bring insulation into the walls of our home. Let's bring this clean heating and cooling equipment into our homes. Like we can do that. So it's just kind of like, kind of shaking up people's thinking about what victory is and how really to realize the goals that we want to achieve. Like we all have to kind of contribute, where we're at. We know that not everybody, can contribute in the same way, and we honor and respect that. But, we definitely are, here to kind of just put some wind in people's sails to provide them with resources and knowledge and information to help them navigate some of these programs that often are confusing or intimidating. And that's been, Push Green's, MO for a decade. And so, we're not gonna change or kind of pivot from that.
Okay, great. Any more questions? That was a great one, Diane. Clark, thank you for elaborating on the "let's bring it home." I know we'll be probably talking more about it next week as we do our segment with Sarah Berger for Push for Clean Heat. And that will be on May 27th, I believe, 3 weeks. The third Thursday, yes, May 27th. And that's all we have. Any more questions? If not, we'll end it with that. And I want to thank everybody. A lot of good information. Valerie, appreciate it. Clark, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Okay, guys.
everybody.
Have a great night, everyone.
All right.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Take care.
take care.
Thank you, Cornell. You've been such gracious hosts.
Thanks.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
We'll get this to work, Lou. You and I will get this.
All right.
Take care,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Oops. My goodness.
Are you hosting, Lou?
Oh, Valerie is, that's right.
Hosting, yeah. So should I? close this
Valerie, I just want to say great meeting you. I know we're getting off here, and Lou and I want to thank you. A lot of good information, excuse me, and I appreciate what you're doing. You got a bright future ahead of you. Keep at it.
Thank you. Likewise.
I know, I am so excited.
It's awesome.
Oh,
And yeah,
thank you so
I'm looking
much.
forward to our partnership.
Of course, yes. Likewise. Should I close out the meeting?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
you
you're
have
good to
to,
go.
right? You're the host.
Just wanted to make sure. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.